She was perfect. That was the first thing I thought when I saw her profile. The kind of perfection that made you hesitate, like she was too good to be real. Her photos had that dreamy quality, soft lighting, a hint of mystery in her eyes. And when she messaged me first, I ignored the tiny voice in my head that whispered something was off. Our first date was at a quiet restaurant by the waterfront. She arrived before me, sitting by the window, looking out at the water. Her hair cascaded over her shoulder like silk, and when she turned to me, her smile was slow, deliberate. My stomach twisted, not with nerves, but with something colder, something I couldn't name. The waiter approached. She didn't look at him, didn't even acknowledge him. I ordered, and when he turned to her, she simply said, "Same." The waiter hesitated for half a second before nodding and walking away. That's when I noticed something strange. Her hands, resting on the table, were perfectly still, too still. No idle movements, no fidgeting, just unnatural stillness. We talked, or rather I talked. She listened, nodding at the right moments, responding in ways that felt rehearsed. Her voice was soft, measured, almost hypnotic. The words she chose were oddly perfect, like they had been plucked from a script. I felt the chill again, the urge to glance over my shoulder, to check if anyone else was watching. When the food arrived, she ate in slow, calculated bites. Every move seemed practiced, like she had studied how to behave on a date but hadn't quite mastered it. She never made a mistake, never dropped a piece of food, never needed to wipe her mouth. I felt like I was sitting across from something mimicking human behavior, something close but not quite right. Then, the bill came. Before I could reach for my wallet, she spoke. "It's taken care of." The waiter nodded, no hesitation this time. The way he avoided eye contact made my skin prickle. I wanted to ask how, why, but I swallowed the question. I didn't want the answer. She invited me back to her place. I should have said no. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to make an excuse, to leave, to run. But I followed her. Her apartment was pristine. No clutter, no personal touches, just a perfect arrangement of furniture, a space that looked lived in but wasn't. The air smelled like nothing, no perfume, no cooking, no trace of human presence. My heart pounded. "Do you like it?" she asked. Her voice was the same, smooth, rehearsed. I nodded, swallowing hard. She stepped closer, too close. Her breath should have warmed my skin, but it didn't. My pulse thudded in my ears. She reached out, her fingers brushing my wrist. Ice cold, not the kind of cold from being outside, but something deeper, something wrong. I pulled away. "I should go," I said, forcing a laugh. Her head tilted slightly, her smile unwavering. Then something flickered. Just for a second, her face glitched, like a bad signal on a screen. My stomach dropped. The room felt smaller, darker. She blinked once, twice, and when she opened her eyes again, they weren't the same. Not human, not right. I stumbled backward, my breath coming fast. She stepped forward. No sound, no movement of her dress, like she wasn't walking, but shifting. A sound behind me. The door clicked locked. My heart slammed against my ribs. I turned back to her, and her smile widened, too wide. Her skin stretched, cracked at the edges. She reached for me, and I ran, sprinting through the apartment, slamming into furniture that hadn't been there a second ago. The walls shifted. The room stretched, pulling me back toward her. I made it to the window, locked. But the reflection, I saw her behind me, her body flickering, distorting, arms outstretched. And then, I saw myself. I wasn't moving. I wasn't running. I was sitting at the table, across from her, smiling, nodding, eating in slow, calculated bites. I turned, but I wasn't in the apartment anymore. I was back at the restaurant. The waiter placed the bill in front of me. My date smiled. "It's taken care of," I heard myself say. The waiter nodded, and I understood. I wasn't the one running. I was the one waiting for the next guest.